My name is Vanjiko Bosire. I'm a parent to an autistic boy who is 5 years old. His name is Kerongo. I'm also a student who is doing a BA, and we have been doing a BA for Kerongo for about now 3 years, going to 4. And just to mention, for me, in short, that was the best thing that I ever enrolled Kerongo in, because now he's able to communicate, which is my biggest blessing. Here is June. June was the Kerongo's first therapist, and of course we do the ABA and BCBA, and June.
Yeah. All right, my name is thank you. All right, my name is June Kipingor. Yes, I am also studying with Jackie. We're trying to become BCBAs. This is part of our practicum. I've been in the field for about 10 years now. Yeah, and it's been actually a very interesting and very educative time in my life. Actually, I love this field. Yeah. So we're hoping to help you understand another topic. Maybe we can give you feedback. We did a previous one on manding.
Manding is requesting. How to get a child to request for things they're interested in. Yeah, we did a previous one. We'll try to upload it. We didn't do it professionally, so the volume might not be so good, but
bear with us.
Yeah. So today we wanted to discuss one of the biggest issues personally before I started ABA we had with Kerongo, and it was about, I'll call it a general term. People call it problem behavior. I prefer to call it challenging behavior, because it's actually just challenging. And this included, like, I remember back in the day, Kerongo he could bite, he was biting, he was spitting on himself and what. And the idea really helped me get through that. So when June was there, she would do her side and I would do my side. So we had to be really a team.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. So problem behavior is actually,
I guess it presents in different ways for all kids.
Yeah.
Like she said, I mean, he was biting. Some would be spitting, some hit.
Yeah.
Some throw themselves on the ground.
Yes.
It's just, it presents in different ways. So your experience might be different, but all the same, it's from behavior and it needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
And I think one of the first things you need to figure out is what's the reason the child is having this problem behavior. Because you can't have a remedy without realizing what the reason is or the cause. So in our learning, we found out that there's 4 different reasons why children behave in a certain way. And I think one of the most common is attention. And I feel like parents see this more, or mothers see this more, because kids, I mean, they love their parents, they love their mama. So they do seek attention, and it's not always in the appropriate way, which is where problem behavior comes in. And I think Jackie had a really good example of that.
Yeah, we'll give you a really simple one. Let's say you're feeding the kid, and the kid is on the feeding chair, they're playing with a toy, and then they keep dropping it, then the mommy keeps picking it up and giving it to them, then they drop it again. Then the mommy is like, oh, picks it up and gives them again. So you can see in that circle, they're trying to look for attention from the mom.
Especially if you realize, I mean, they're not dropping it by accident.
Yes.
They're dropping it on purpose.
They're dropping it on purpose. And they get these, maybe the mom smiles at them. They're like, ooh, I want another smile.
Yeah.
Then mommy picks it up. Yeah. You know? So they keep... they are getting that reward of smiling and engagement with the mom, which they wouldn't get if they're not dropping the toy.
Yeah. And that's a really mild example.
Yes.
I mean, not everyone would call it problem behavior, but it's the same thing that would happen even with the spitting and what have you. Oh. Sometimes a child will just do it, so you come and tell them, no, stop, okay, don't do it. Yeah.
Or even biting.
Yes.
Think about it, biting. If I bite And then June is like, ouch!
Yes.
I mean, I get the
Yeah,
attention
reaction, yeah.
I wanted.
Yeah.
And
Even if it wasn't, or like coddling attention, but it was still a reaction.
It
And
was
sometimes
still a
that's all they're
reaction.
seeking. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the causes for
Yeah.
problem behavior.
And it's maybe to mention, it's important. Personally, I felt as a parent, once I understood these steps, I was able to figure out when my child was trying to get attention from me,
And in an inappropriate
in the
manner.
inappropriate way of getting attention, which is, bite, and I'll be like, ouch, get on, go!
Yeah.
And I'll be like, don't do that. But he still got the attention he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Another form of or a reason why children have problem behavior is to escape something they don't want to do. And again, you had a really good example for that.
yeah, so I had an example of what? Eating. So probably he's being brought for food he doesn't like. So I'm like, Kerongo, eat. Or splatters it, or So what do? I get upset and I'm like, Kerongo, time out, go to the corner, time out. But what has actually happened in real sense? Kerongo, I gave him instructions to eat. He started throwing things and I let him off from eating. So I didn't keep my demand of eat your food. I didn't keep my instruction of eat your food. So he learns in future, if I don't want to eat this, all I have to do is throw, cry. I'll be given time out. I mean, I'm not doing the activity I wanted to do. So...
And I feel like this is a common thing that happens.
Yes.
And not necessarily even with the throwing, but I mean, you find some kids and they don't want to eat, they'll cry and cry and cry, and you're like, gosh, it's okay. They don't have to eat right now. I mean, they'll get hungry at some point, let them just go. And this doesn't only happen with eating, it happens with a lot of different other activities.
Like
and you
TV
find, so you find your child is crying because they just don't want to do this or that. And you let them off because you're like, it's okay. I mean, if they're that upset, let them just go. But they learn, all I need to do now is cry. And my parent...
Perfect example, TV. Let's say, like, Kerongo is watching TV. Then I say, Kerongo, in 5 minutes, we're going to switch off that TV. Then I come in 5 minutes and switch off the TV. And then he starts throwing himself on the floor and what. So I'm like, okay. I put on the TV. What did I do? I gave in to that, and then he knows, hey, next time, if I throw myself on the floor, I'll be given back TV.
And that also can double as an access to a tangible.
Yeah, that
which access to something they wanted.
Yes.
Like this way kids cry for toys or something. Same thing, yeah. They like the way they cry. I mean, he cried for the TV. And another one I think that's very common for mothers is when you're walking in the supermarket. And your child cries for something. And I mean, just to save yourself embarrassment, which I think is a normal reaction for a parent, you give in to the child, but then you teach the child, I mean, if you cry, I'll give it to you. And I realize it's very difficult for a parent. I mean, you're seeing your child cry, and it's in public, and there's judgment from all around you, and it's easy to give in, but it's not the right response. And I think the last one we want to mention is one that's called sensory automatic. Some kids just do something that in and of itself the action is reinforcing to themselves. It doesn't matter if you're present, if they're by themselves, that action in itself is reinforcing, but it may not be a good action that they're doing. Just like banging, weirdly enough, the fanning. For some kids also, it's also spitting.
Kerongo had that.
But it's reinforcing in itself. He's not doing it because he's getting attention or anything. I just like the sensation.
But I must mention, one thing I learned from this is when Kerongo, he used to have a lot of that automatic reinforcement initially, but I learned also it's because he didn't know how to appropriately play. The moment he could figure out, hey, I can pick blocks and start building on them, then it made him stop with you know, the all these automatic reinforcement, the spitting. He would do it out of idleness, just to mention myself as a parent, what I felt was all about that.
So she has touched actually on interventions that we would, as ABAs, as we are learning, that we would recommend to any parent for problem behavior. So now we've mentioned the reasons why they do that. So far we've mentioned attention, escape from an activity they don't want, accessing something they want, and the automatic. So she's right. One way to help children seize these automatic reinforcement that activities that are problematic is to block, like especially like if it's something like the hitting and stuff. I mean, like spitting you don't block, but for stuff like this that you block them, then give them something else
They can
that they can do. So like the spitting would stop if he was doing something else that was more that was engaging.
That was engaging. And of course, you can't give him, like if he doesn't know how to do the blocks, you can't just give him the blocks, and you have to do it with him. And eventually, if you so many repetitions makes him learn how to do the blocks, giving an example. And once you have learned, you get comfortable with it, and you're told, go play with your blocks, you'll be quickly, you know, do it. And eventually later on we'll do maybe an independent workstation where we show you how
to teach your kids
how to play
independently.
To occupy themselves, in the sense that he can go and play with the toys for 30 minutes, return the toys, and you know, appropriately play with the toys.
So that's for automatic.
So just to mention on all this, there will be maybe a time, like let's say, especially like access to tangibles. If he has a history, like in the supermarket, the example you gave of the supermarket is really good. If he has a history of, you know, every time that he cries, he gets something. So now you're trying to change the terms. You get me? That if he cries, you don't want, you're not willing to get that chocolate, you know, or whatever. So the first time you refuse, maybe let's say the tantrums normally last 3 seconds. I'll tell you, that day he'll cry. He'll cry for longer. To probably go even to 15 minutes.
Like, why are they not giving in?
Yes. So he will tempt you to what you can, to your threshold.
Try to figure out your limit.
Yes, try to figure out your limits. But the thing is, yes, the crime goes up, then he realizes, hey, I'm not getting away with it. It's so effortful for him. So eventually, it will start going down. And in ABA, they call that extinction bursts, where the problem behavior, when you're trying to stop something, it will, you know, of course, I'll cause even more. Why this has been working? Why is it not working now? You know?
That's true.
And then go down. It's the same thing even about putting, like, I had my schedule of Kerongo to go to bed at 9. It's a good example. So he would, initially when I put him to bed at 9, he would cry because he doesn't want to be in bed. And he would cry. Initially he would cry, I wish I had those graphs. He would cry, I had to record how long he cried. So initially it was 40 minutes. For like 4 days. Proper crying, 40 minutes. But I had to ignore it because I knew the moment I give him and go and get him out of bed, then he knows, hey, if I cry, it worked. So for him to learn that, this crying is not getting me what I want, then you have, you know,
the problem behavior starts to reduce.
And then, you know, now the curve comes down. Eventually it's like crying 5 minutes, and then now it went away. I mean, Kerongo goes to bed at 9 sharp, 9:05, you'll be asleep here on the couch.
And that's actually a really good example, because then you see it's not like a quick fix or immediately you decide to do this. The child will be strict and narrow and behaving. It's not easy. It's not easy for anyone. So what she did, actually, she ignored the problem behavior, and over time, as hard as it was, it ceased. But in the supermarket scenario, some of the time It depends. If you want to give the child whatever it is that they're crying for, you don't want to give it to them because they're crying. You want them to be able to ask for it. So one of the procedures we do is called a countermand. I know it sounds a bit technical, but it makes a lot of sense. We will tell the child, I'm going to count for 5, and then you can ask for what you want. So you start from 1. You don't let them. You won't start counting until they cease crying. They have to be calm for 5 seconds total, which is really hard. I mean, you'd be like 1.
Let's do this, baby. Yeah.
An example would be easier, I guess.
I'll pretend to be crying, so I'll be here.
All right, no crying for the item, no crying for the item, no crying for the item, no crying for the item 1, no crying for the item, 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 no crying for the item 1, 2, 3. No crying for the item, no crying for the item, no crying for the item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pen?
Pen.
Oh, here, have the pen! As hard as that is, I mean, you don't want to reward a child for crying. You want to reward a child for asking nicely.
For asking.
Yes.
And notice, she counted up to 3, then I started crying again. So she had to go back and count.
5 seconds total.
Yes. And of course, the child won't get this the first day.
Yeah.
It's about repetition.
Yeah.
And repeating
and consistency.
Yes.
Yeah.
And consistency.
Yeah.
Yes, is very important in this. Because even ourselves, we learn through that. Yeah. It's through repetition and consistently doing the same thing that we become perfect at it.
Yeah. So I would say those are the 2 remedies. Ignoring, like with the sleeping thing, or if you're willing to give in, countermand.
Yeah, so that the child learns, hey, the next time, I just have to say biscuit. And mommy gives me biscuit.
Ask appropriately, not inappropriately.
Yeah, not inappropriately. So will come a time when we'll discuss even more about that, especially the when you want something and you say no and you can offer something else. We'll discuss in one of the future episodes to come. So
far I think we've talked about access to tangible and sensory. So the other one is attention, which actually is similar to access to tangible. You will still ignore. So similarly to when the child was dropping the toy, the example we gave you, to gain attention from the mom. I mean, it's not an appropriate if it's something you don't want the child to keep doing, you'll ignore. I mean, let the toy drop. Don't pick it up. Don't respond. I mean, eventually the child learns. I mean, dropping the toy was not effective in getting the mom to respond to me, so I'm not dropping the toy anymore.
And the other thing I used to find is Kerongo would start crying out of nowhere. Because he wants me to hug him.
And what would be more appropriate is you just teach the child to say hug. Just come and say hug to your mom.
So
I think we only have one more, escape. I think we had the example of eating.
Yes, and time out. Because you have placed a demand and then
you let the child get away with it,
thinking that you're punishing, but in actual sense the child wanted
to get away from the food.
So he actually got away from the food.
And that's not what you want. So if you've placed a demand, and it's something as simple as eating, and I mean there's nothing wrong with the food, the child is not allergic to it, it's not, there's no aversive anything happening, then keep your demand. And I mean scenarios like this happen all the time, even like with tidying up their toys. I mean a lot of kids don't like to tidy up, and you'd be like, tidy up your toys, and then they'll cry and they'll do something, and at some point you're like, you know what, just go.
Actually, that's
and
you
do it yourself.
Yes, that's a very good one, especially about the crying.
Because you get tired. I mean, either you get frustrated or tired, and you're like, you know what, just go. Stop crying. I'll tidy up myself. But they escaped the demand you placed. But no, you don't want that to happen, because then they learn, all I need to do is cry, and I don't have to do the work I'm being asked to do.
They use behavior.
Yes. So at that point, you're like, no, tidy up your toys. Tidy up your toys. And ideally, you don't want to be mad. Or in ABA, we try and have a neutral voice. And keep the demand going, like a broken record. And I found with some kids that are verbal, what they'll do is start saying, oh, I need water. Oh my God, gosh, look at that. You know, like they'll have different
Yeah.
things to tell you to
They're
distract
clever.
you, but you don't want to respond to that either, because I found in some cases you'll be like, oh, do you need water? Okay, let's go get water. You're thirsty. And I'm like, I mean, thirst is a definite need, but you find they escaped that activity because you went to give
But
them
what
water.
you want to do is
Tidy
tidy
up
up,
first.
then
If they
go
need
get
water,
them
give them water. Yes, yeah.
Mm.
But don't deviate from your demand. Keep going until they've completed the task. And in the future, they'll learn that all these behaviors, crying, coming up with different suggestions, will not be effective in getting away from. I mean, it's a simple task. You're not asking them to do anything hard or difficult. Yeah, yeah. And that's basically, I think, it. Yeah.
Yep. In case you have any queries, you're always there. Of course, this is a very big topic, and
Yes.
I know personally I really struggled with it. So I'm sure even as we go on with the episodes, we'll still touch on this episode.
Yes. Maybe we have more ideas or
Yes.
even more insights.
Yes.
Or even if you have questions about it, please
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. This is the ABA table.
Yeah, right. Leo Autism Trust is on all platforms. Please remember